So my front discs are warped, so let's get them changed out for some nice shiny new ones. The first step is to loosen the two pinch bolts at the bottom of the forks. There's two either side, so make sure you're doing all four. Then loosen your caliper bolts. There's 2 bolts per caliper, and there are a total of 2 calipers on the front of this bike. Next up, loosen the axle bolt. Next, it's time to get the bike on a front paddock stand so we can take the wheel off. Before the wheel comes off, make sure you fully loosen the caliper bolts and take the calipers off the discs and their holding bracket. Don't let the calipers dangle down as you don't want to damage the brake lines, so I've supported mine on the handlebar with a piece of string. Next up, fully take your axle bolt out, and then you might have to hammer the axle out itself as it will probably be quite stiff. Now your wheel will essentially fall out, and you can begin loosening the 6 bolts in this case that hold the disc to the wheel. Now with the discs off, it's a good idea to clean the contact points on the wheel itself. Using a wire brush is good, but be careful not to scratch the paint. Here's a new disc, so line that up to the wheel and put the bolts in hand tight. Then I'm going to be torquing them down to 18 Newton meters of torque with a torque wrench. You should hear a click. And make sure you're doing this in a star pattern as well. A lot of brake discs come coated with some sort of oil to keep them from corroding, so make sure you remove this with a little bit of brake cleaner. It's also a good idea to clean up and re-grease the axle as well. So with both discs done and torqued to the wheel, it's time to put the wheel back on the bike. If you're doing this solo, it helps to have a piece of wood under the wheel so you can line up the axle hole and make sure you put your tyre in the correct rotational direction. Hammer your axle back in and get it hand tightened with the bolt on the other side. Then get your calipers back on. You might have to prise them open a little bit. Then get your calipers back on and the bolts in hand tight. I've got a list of all the torque settings as well handy, so I don't have to keep checking my phone. Then with the bike off the paddock stand, torque down your axle bolt, then all 4 of your caliper bolts, and then all 4 of your pinch bolts as well. I've now put the bike back on the front paddock stand, and I'm just spinning and squeezing the brake just to make sure the calipers are fully working and that the wheel does stop. Obviously these discs are going to need bedding in, so take it easy on your first few 100 miles. So that's it for the front brakes. In the next video, hopefully I'll be tackling the rear brake, which is a little bit different.